welcome back. Can we get this running and driving in today's episode? That's the question. Stick around and see what we can, if anything, pull off. Oakley dokley. So we have here a 1965 Pontiac. If you are new, you wouldn't know that we just bought this at auction. It had no motor or transmission in it. Other than that, it is absolutely beautiful. So the plan is, in the last episode, we put our 283 freshly rebuilt by me Chev in. We went and purchased a turbo 350 transmission that's tucked in down there. And we are in the process of trying to get it to run and drive. In the car, it had a Holley sniper, which is underneath there. It had this air cleaner. It had the exhaust system. It had all these power steering pump and bracketry. It had a heap of bolt-ons. But some of them don't work. Now, we have our 283 Chevy, and as you can see here, there is no holes in our heads. So these are, they're not double hump, I don't think. They're similar to double hump heads. They're fuelie heads. I can't think of the name. Honestly cannot remember the name. If you know, drop a comment of what they are called. There's a name for them. They only made them for a few years, I think. I think the motor is like a 1959 283. So anyway, I had this brainwave of, because I had a short water pump on, if I put a long water pump on, it will eliminate all my issues with our alternator and our power steering pump bracketry. So it has an aeroflow bracket for the power steering, and it had this aeroflow bracket for the alternator. Pricing them, they are nearly $300 each. And so we went and bought the long water pump, and guess what? Didn't fix it. So today we've just gone out and bought another one. We've bought a bracket that I think mounts on there and there. It's like a chromey bracket, and I think mounts here. Anyway, hopefully that one works. And then we've got a different power steering bracket that mounts here and down here, I think, is what we've got. We've also went and bought a couple of bungs for here, and we'll get rid of this, I think. We'll actually probably put our temps in there, and we'll put the other bung in here. What else did we get today? We got a spring for our throttle. Now, I'm not 100% sure, because I do know these Holley snipers have a crazy internal spring in them, but we're going to put a external spring on regardless. So we bought that. And there's a few other things I bought yesterday that I still haven't installed. So what we have to do is, we've got to do, also it does got two sets of holes. No, it hasn't. Also, our water pump we bought didn't fit our pulley, so we had to go buy a new set. So hopefully we've got all the correct pulleys now. So So we've got a new water pump, new pulley. This thing's nearly all going to be new. We've got a brand new motor, well, freshly refreshed. New water pump. The transmission is done like 500 kilometers. We also went and put a new starter motor on down in there. I think you can see that, the starter motor. We've got a new trans dipstick we did yesterday. Yeah, we are very, very close. This car is very close, and hopefully now the only things left are I've got to pick up spark plug leads. They're ordered, and I've got to pick up spark plugs. And other than that, we should have everything to get this thing to run and drive down the street. And it's quite exciting because this is a very expensive car that's going to be very cheap out of my wallet. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get down to it. Let's get some work done. Let's get into, I don't know what we're going to start with, whatever I pull out first. And let's see if we can get this thing going. Alrighty. Alright, we are back and we are making some progress. Where are we up to? What have you seen? We got all our pulleys done finally. We had to go with these this ugly one at the top for now. It fought me a bit. Now, I don't know. I'm thinking this one here is slightly kicked. So we're just going to see how it goes. If we have issues, what I will do is, around the other side here, we can see it. We only have the mount on the bottom, on the front, going through. What we'll do is we'll run another bracket from the back of the bolt there, back onto the water pump. Pretty sure I can, I don't know, I worked it out last night, but I'm pretty sure I can pick up one of the water pump bolts, one of the bolts at the back there. Might have to make a little spacer or something, and run a bracket out to this at the right length, so that then this is nice and square. Because yeah, to me, I think that when I've tensioned it, it actually has kicked the alternator a little bit when it goes under the tension. Yeah, maybe about there you might be able to see. I don't know, it's very close, but we'll just see. If it starts to run a bit weird, we'll do that. We'll make a bracket here going that way that will just push this back edge that way a little bit to just square it up a tiny bit better. But other than that, this one seems to work. Now, and the other side was all beautiful for the power steering pump. And later on, there is another, which is a whole nother kettle of fish. We'll worry about it another time. We will get this other bracket that will mount the alternator up here, and then it mounts an aircon compressor up here. Yeah, so we'll look at that later, and then we'll have to put a 3-prong bottom pulley, and yeah, I don't know. We'll have to work all that out at another time. We're not even going to bother with that at the moment. Then, so we've got that happening. We have put the radiator in, as you can see, and the thermofan. That's all bolted in. Bottom hose is on and done up. That's done, and our transcooler lines are in under there anyway. They're on and done up and cable tied, so we are happy with them. Now our top hose, I do not understand why, but it is, as you can see, a tiny bit short. Whether it's just that this is fouling it a bit, I don't know, but this here this is a turny one. But then I was looking over at our wiring over here, and I found this wire here. So we plugged in our wires to our thermofans just there, and then I was looking at all the wiring, and we got this. Now this is obviously our controller wiring. It runs into a relay here, if you can see that there, yeah, the tail's in there, relay there, and it runs over there to a fuse block in there. And so that is that's what tells, well, at the moment it doesn't, but that's the wiring that tells our thermofans to kick on. So what we're missing is the bit that plugs here, that goes somewhere in the water system, that triggers when it gets to a certain temperature, triggers to turn the fans off and on, whatever. So what I've ordered is, we have two options. We'll go back, we have two options. We either have one where we put in the motor at one of these ports, when then our wiring's not really long enough, because our wiring's only yay long, or we can get one that we put in this hose, that goes in this hose, and then we'll plug that onto it. So that's what I've ordered. So then I'm going to cut it around here somewhere. Now at the moment I've just gone and got a piece of stainless tube. We'll cut this down and we'll stick that in there for now, which will then, so what this does is it will then make our hose fit, because our hose can lengthen a little bit because we're putting that other unit in. Does that make sense? So we're putting that unit in, which then lengthens the hose, and we plug it in. But until we get the unit, it will take a day or two, we will whack this in the system so that we can button that up. Woohoo! Where else are we at? We've got our alternator wire here we have to put on. We've got all our bungs in now, and our temp gauge is all done. Around here we've got to run a hose from, I don't know if you can see that little unit there. We've got to undo that and turn that around this way and run a hose from that over to here. I think we've got to take this oil temp out and swap it for the other one. Now we also need to do a return spring, but so whether we use this and drill a hole in this, or we just delete this, we might just delete this and I'll work out where to put a return spring. Well, that would work pretty good off of there, wouldn't it? That would probably work pretty good. We may just leave that on, I think. We'll drill a hole in that, or we might even just come off of here, whatever, we'll work that out. And we'll put a return spring there, I think, for our carby. We've still got to do the other exhaust. We've got oil in it, and the oil filter is now on, and the oil's filled up. So that's done. We're getting a lot closer. I've printed off the Holley Sniper manual, so I'm just going through trying to work out the wiring at the back there for the distributor, because at the moment it's not, I'm not really following it, what wires go to my distributor. Yeah, we're down the list. We're down to half a page list, I think, guys. So next we'll finish this radiator hose. We might even fill that up, put the coolant in that. I think we'll look at this side extractor. And we'll look at this and get that rewrapped and put on. And we then may go and look at the shifter, mounting our shifter and running our cable and connecting our shifter up. We might look at doing that too, I think. That's what I think we may do, yeah. And then we're getting very, very close. And once this exhaust is on, we can bolt up our bottom exhaust. So we can do that. Then we're nearly done underneath. We can nearly put it on the ground, and yeah, we'll take the plugs out. We've got to put the dizzy in. Well, first we've got to take the plugs out, rock covers off. We might even crank it over at that point, I think. Make sure it's cranking over nice. We'll try to get it to build some oil pressure before we even have anything else hooked up. We might just put a clamp, I think, maybe on the fuel line. For now, we'll just clamp the fuel line and just get it to crank. See if we can get it to build some oil pressure. And yeah, then when we take that off the box, then we'll put the dizzy, we'll get it to top dead center. We'll put the dizzy in. And yeah, boom, boom, boom. We've got to cancel out the Holley Sniper system, put our new parameters in. Hopefully we can get that to go beautiful. So we probably won't get it today. We'll see how we go, but I reckon tomorrow, fingers crossed, we'll fire it up. It's had its roadworthy done. So I can go and put registration on it tomorrow. So hopefully, if I've done this correctly and my motor's good, touch wood, we might drive it this weekend. Anyway, Well, it won't happen if we keep talking. So let's do some more work. we are back. As you can see, look at that. It's very early. It's very foggy this morning. Anyway, we don't care. We don't care about the fog. We're here to watch what you're doing to the car. And who does this? Oh, yeah. That's what you get for copying my ideas. Anyway, we got the exhaust on this side. That there fought me. And here's one of our tips. When you put the exhaust wrap on, wear long sleeves because it is itchy as hell. I think it might be made out of fiberglass. Anyway, we got that on. We actually had to unloosen the engine mount and prop the motor up a bit. I still have to tighten the engine mount back down. I've got another heat shield, one of these, because we're very close to these hoses, we're very close to the starter, and we're very close to the steering box, so I want to get that heat shield that's there, just feed that in a bit better. That's done. Our hose is done. We've gone through, neatened up a fair bit of our wiring. We've connected the alternator wire. We needed our wiring at the back. This is the wire for our plug we were talking about. We've just got the battery sitting in there. We've stuffed around a bit on the back here. We've got our throttle spring on. We did this hose. Now that oil pressure gauge, which is this one, was too fat, so we've got to buy a little extension. We found our dizzy wire, which then led me into the book. I started researching the book on the holley snapper, and we have a HEI distributor. I hadn't realised all of this, and you can run the HEI distributor with it, but we would have had to rewire everything, and I wasn't doing that. So we are heading off now. Hence why I'm not in work clothes is go and get a new MSD distributor we're going to buy. So this car is going to be blinged, I'm telling you. So we're going to go get a new MSD distributor. It's about $700, $800, which will then just drop in and plug in. We've got to get an extension for that oil pressure gauge, and we've got to bolt up the exhaust of the extractors. We've still got to look at our shifter, which isn't a big job, and put water in it, and then the fun begins, is getting it started. So we've then got to, we've got to disconnect the fuel pump relay so we're not pushing fuel up, is what we're going to do. Then we're going to crank it, get oil, try to get oil pressure. We'll try to just set our timing of cranking it. We'll try to reboot all the holley sniper system because it's new motor. And once we've got it, I think we're happy with everything, then we will put our fuel pump relay back on, prime it up, see what happens. So it depends how long it takes me to go get these parts. We'll get close today. We'll get close today, whether it's running or at least we should have it cranking over. So anyway, we're not going to have any of that done if I keep talking to you. Woo! So let's get on the road, and we will. Oh, look, new sneakers, woo! And we will re-adjourn in a couple of hours. All right. Well, here we are. I'll have to zoom you so that I can get the flash on. There. So what we have here is failure to communicate. No, what we have is, I think we are getting very, very close. I've just pulled all the spark plugs out. We've bought a new distributor, MSD. There's a fair bit in this Holley Sniper, a lot more than what they make out now, because there's about 20 different ways of wiring it. I think I've worked out how it's been pre-wired. It's been wired so that the MSD and the coil run the ignition, and they are running the advance. They are advancing it with the distributor with the magnets. Yes. You can wire it all up so that the sniper will, where you lock the distributor out, and the sniper will advance, retard your distributor, which is, they say, the best way to do it, but we have to rewire it for that. So yes, we haven't got the distributor in yet. We haven't made our spark plug leads. This is what we've got left to do. And our coil leads. We've just disconnected the fuel pump relay so that our fuel pump is not pushing any fuel up here at the moment. We've also disconnected the O2 sensor so that is not fired up and burning out, because apparently with the ignition on they can burn out. Now we've connected our shifter, we've got our oil pressure sender in, we've got everything in. The truth, guys. Our exhaust is all bolted up. We've still got to do, there's a bracket broken at the back. Yeah, exhaust is done up though. I think all our plumbing's done, our wiring, I think it's all done. The exhaust is very tight over here. We've had to put some heat shrouds on, so we're connecting the battery right now for the first time. Alright, well, nothing's sparking, so that's a good sign. That's our first fire test. Right, so that's a good sign. We've got nothing on fire. Right, so I'm just going to go and turn the ignition on and see if we have anything at all. Okay, so well, was that our thermos come on straight away. Now we didn't hear we don't really want them running at the moment, so we'll just disconnect those thermo fan. We don't really want that running at the moment. Disconnect those two and see what happens. If that does it. Right, that's good. Now, can't hear no fuel pump, so it's not sending any fuel up. We did hear the ECU, and I do have the sniper's page is up. Right, so first things first, let's just crank it and see what happens. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Woohoo! So that is good. That beautiful, hey? What do you think? That sounded very nice. Sounded very nice. Everything, that was very good. Woo! So there's number one dance. We're going to get a few of them in. I think we'll bring it in now. So I'll quickly stop it, and we'll go inside and we'll have a look inside. And so this is what we have to do. When we're inside, we have to reset all the computer for the Holley Sniper, We've got to go through and try to clear all that because they learn. See, this is what happens is this thing learns. So you've got to put your motor parameters in. So we don't know what motor this guy had. He had some big horsepower, I think. So he puts in what cam he's got, what size cubes his motor is, what he wants it to idle at, what he wants to set his timing to. He types all that in. The holley then runs and learns from all the sensors and adjusts timing, and it makes a learn map, right? Now we need to reset that all because that will be throwing so much fuel into our motor, it's ridiculous. Now what I've also worked out is the base setting on this, once I have reset it, the base setting will be very, very, very rich. So they run them very rich so that you won't blow your motor up at the start until it starts to learn. Now this is a brand new motor. We cannot have it that rich because it will just polish up the bores and it will just send so much fuel into the O2 sensor that it will stuff the O2 sensor up. So we've got some air fuel ratio figures I've been given to go in and reset once I've got it all done, to reset the air fuel ratios to lean it up a little bit because it's a brand new motor. So a lot of people don't like these snipers on brand new motors, but if speaking to this engine builder, he said that if we do it correctly, they actually can be better because they will start adjusting the air fuel so that it's not going to dump too much fuel in, if that makes sense. So anyway, we'll stop here now. We'll go inside and we'll have a look at what's going on in there. All right, here we are inside. As you can see, it's dark. I've been working till dark most nights because it's by the time I go get all my parts and stuff, I live in the country. By the time I go out and get my bits during the day, I don't get home till 1, 2, 3 o'clock, and then we do a 4 or 5 hour session, and generally I've been needing to go get another part. So now we can turn this on. As you can hear, no fuel pump, which is good. Now here's our screen. So that is saying ignition timing 15 degrees, RPMs at stall because we're not running, the AFR, which would be our air fuel, that's our O2 sensor unplugged. See, it's pretty clever. So now what we have to do is somehow work out how to get that into the setup wizard. But anyway, let's crank this and see if we can get any movement on our oil gauge at all. So I'll put you there. Not getting anything, are we? We don't even know if we've got it connected though. It's going to flatten that battery quick, isn't it, doing that? Something else. Guess what? Ooh yeah. Ooh yeah. Ooh yeah. It's registered. That's right, it is registered. Ready to go out driving. So that was been a bit of a stress. I'm doing all this work and we still weren't 100% if this was going to be good. My research told me that number was it, but I didn't actually know. You never know until you go and get it through the system and they say yes. So today we went and got it registered. So it's all legal. We got number plates. So it's in the system. Hey? Right, Rooney. So, we have just taken the rocker covers off, and we have just set the motor up to top dead center. So, what you can do is put your finger over number 1 on the spark plug port, have someone just bump the motor with the key, and you will make sure you are on the compression stroke. Correct? Correct. So, we're on the compression stroke. We are at 0 degrees top dead center. So at this point we are ready to put in our distributor. And here's something you probably all know because you're all just telling the screen, but last night, obviously a big day in the heat, got to me. I was cranking the motor, trying to get oil pressure, remember? Well, you don't get oil pressure if you don't have the distributor in, do you? Because there's nothing to drive the oil pump. So, yeah, that was a bit stupid. Anyway, so that was okay because I was actually a little bit stressed when I went inside about that, and then I went, oh, you're an idiot. So anyway, what we do now is we will install our, well, first we'll unbox it, eh? We'll unbox our new distributor. This is what we bought. We bought the MSD Pro Billet distributor. Now I don't know if you know, we've got a MSD 6AL box in there, and we've got the Master Blaster coil. Now, I don't know if I've said, but these Holley snipers can be wired up multiple ways, depending on what pieces you have and how you want it to run. So we could have used that HEI distributor, but we had to rewire it, and I didn't want to do that. This was wired up with the MSD. You don't have to run an MSD box with them, but this was set up with an MSD box and a coil. Now, then even in this setup, there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can do it where you let the ECU, the Holley, adjust the timing, or you can do it where you let the ignition system, the ignition box, adjust the timing. So we have the magnetic style MSD with the magnets, so the magnets will adjust the timing when they spin faster. So that's how that's how this was set up, to let the MSD do all the timing controls. So that's what we're running. But like I said, you can do it multiple ways. Well, we get some stickers. Anyway, we're not putting them on the car because we're not into that. I reckon that looks absolutely stupid when people do that. Right, each to their own, I suppose. Now what we will do is we'll take the cover off. I don't know if the screwdriver will do it. Yes, it will. Maybe I should have got the red one because I've got a black one. Anyway, we've got a spare one now, don't we? And then, so this is our rotor cap, and we want to have that pointing at number 1, yeah? And that's about it. So we drop this in and we'll go from there. Alright, something else we want to do, I'll let you know on, is before we go oiling it or doing anything, we just want to drop it in to its location dry. Right? And why, you say? Because we want to make sure that this face bottoms down on our manifold correctly and that there's no gap. Okay, if there's a gap, then we need to look at rectifying that gap with either some extra like a little washers or extra little gaskets or whatever, or you may have one that this can be adjusted on. Okay, but so we just dry stall it first, make sure that it's happy, and then we will pull it out. We will put, you can either put gear braking lubricant on it or oil. We might as well use the real deal stuff, and then you put your gasket on and drop it in. So anyway, let's get to it. Alright, what we did was, because some idiot forgot to pull the distributor out when the car was at top dead center on number 1, so when I've put the Dizzy back in, the oil pump cog is not lining up to number 1, it's lining up to number 2. So what we've had to do is put the Dizzy in little bump cranks to get the rotor button pointing towards number 1. Now we've pulled the Dizzy back out, and now we will re-get top dead center again and then put the Dizzy back in. So yes, the boss isn't happy because I've had to cool her down again. Okay, it is Saturday. So we bought the car on Friday. So that's when we picked it up, Friday. So today is Saturday. So it's been just over a week, and realistically we should have had it going yesterday. But yesterday fought me. So what we did was we had no spark plugs in, and we had the rocker covers off, and we were cranking the motor over to try to prime the oil system, and I've been having dramas. So I had no oil pressure at the gauge. So then I went, well, the gauge wasn't wide for a start, so that wasn't helping. So we still, after all that, we still have no oil pressure at the gauge. I believe, I'm not 100%, but I'm 90%, we are bringing a little bit of oil up to this side of the motor whilst cranking it, but we're getting nothing on this side. Now, we actually drained our battery, and I wasn't too keen on doing it like this. So what I am going to do, right, so then, well, we'll continue with what we then went back on. We put our new plugs in, we've got brand new spark plugs. We went and made our MSD leads, and we've hidden all them. We've done them quite nicely, I think. You can see, I'll show you. I'll take this, I've seen this done once and I actually really liked it. We'll take this off quickly. What else did we do? Well, we've got everything ready. It needs me to just jump in on the ECU of the Sniper and quickly change the air fuel ratios, and other than that we're ready to actually fire it up. Oh, we need to put coolant in. So that's how we did the MSD leads. I think that's a real nice way of doing them. So what happens is, instead of them all crisscrossing, we bring them all that one way, and then they do their crisscrossing down the bottom. I think that was a nice way of doing it. We got our little lead holders. Yeah, I think everything's ready to fire, right? We still have the fuel pump unplugged and everything. Now, our only issue is the priming. So those timings will set at about, I think it's set at about 8 degrees. I think I've got it before top dead center. So basically, but we haven't been able to build oil pressure. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to pull the distributor out, and I'm going to get that HEI distributor, which is brand new, but we're going to just pull it all to pieces, and I'm going to make myself a priming tool out of it. So what we'll do is we'll take the bottom cog off of it, and all the top button, everything, so that we can put our drill on it. We'll stick it in there and we will actually spin it up with the drill, and one, confirm that our oil pressure gauge is working and we don't have a faulty sender, and two, we'll confirm that we are definitely getting oil. Well, I am nearly, I reckon we're getting it up to that side, but we weren't getting it to this side, so I think we just want to try to confirm this. Now the oil is pretty thick. Yeah, I'd just like to confirm that we have got that oil pump working. And if once we've got that done, we'll put the dizzy back in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the distributor exactly where it is, and I'm going to mark it on the base and on the block. Okay, so I'm actually going to mark it down there. We'll put a little mark on our cap just to confirm, but we're going to mark it down there. Then we're going to pull that out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, when we put our new one in, we're going to mark our new one. So our new one won't spin any of this. It will only be spinning the oil pump, our thing we're going to make. But I'm going to mark that so that we can at least get the oil gear to be pointing back in the right spot when we finish. And then theoretically we should just be able to drop this back in and it be exactly where it is, and we'll just give it a quick crank and check that we do have it at that 8-degree mark. And at that point I think it will be, we'll quickly throw coolant in it, and we'll fire it up. So anyway, that ain't going to happen if I keep talking. Now if this does not prime up, then you're going to see a very upset person. If this does not prime up, we're going to have to pull the pan off, which is going to be a nightmare. So we're going to have to undo the engine mounts and see how much we can actually lift this motor up. Just drop that pan enough to hopefully get in there and take the pump, undo it and get it out and go get a new one. And I priced them, they're like $80. If I had known that, I would. Anyway, we didn't. It was clean. So here's the thing, the pump was cleaned with brake cleaner when we built the motor. It was all clean, so it was dry basically, and we didn't put any oil or any grease or Vaseline or anything in it. So, and the other thing is the oil we got is very thick, so that can take a while to prime up. So wish me luck, comment down below if you think we're going to pull this off, or if we pulling that sample apart. Alright, we are in the car. Now, we had success. Yes, it primed up. So it actually took a while. We had, what would it be? 35, 20 is, we had about 40, just over 40 psi on the gauge. And eventually, after burning the drill out pretty much, we got it to oil up on the left hand side, which is our passenger side. Bank oiled up, and obviously we would have had to turn the crank to get the right side to oil up. So yes, we are happy. All right, now it took a while, but that's probably my fault for putting such thick oil in. Anyway, spin back around. We are at the Holley Sniper. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our parameters in. So we'll go into the wizard section, and that's what we are. So we go next. Number of cylinders, 8. Next. Engine displacement. We are a 283 cubic inches. Next. Target idle speed. I don't know. We'll just do 800, to start with. Yeah, we'll do, no, not that much. We'll do 800 and we can change it if we need be. And I'll just come in and I'll operate the throttle to get it up more. What was that one? Engine displacement, target idle speed. Hopefully you're seeing all this. 800. Next. Cam type. Stock mild. Next. Power adder, none. RPM to sniper ignition type. CD box. Stock cam sniper. Right, so let's press start. Done. Please cycle the ignition to complete the operation. I think I was meant to turn that off and on. So if we go into tuning, basic fuel, target AFR. Alright, at idle, 13.5. At idle, we want 14.7, it says. Save. At cruise, we want 14.7. So we're leaning this out a little bit, guys. Save. And at wide open throttle, watt, we want 13. Save. Done. Go back, 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 back. So we're just checking here. Current global file, stock cam, CD box. Okay, so we are on what we want. Alright, so that is good. Okay, we should have the sniper set how we want to start learning. So that's pretty simple there. And so you can get in there, and as you can see, there's so much you can do. We're not going to do a full craziness on this because, well, until they give us one for free, then we'll do a proper one. Alright, so we can turn our ignition back off now. We've got our air fuel ratios adjusted. We'll just get rid of the test light and the stuff. And we've got oil pressure. We've got to put coolant in it. And then we're just going to check the we're just going to check timing again under crank. And I think if we're happy with that, I think we plug in our fuel relay and our O2 sensor and we kick it in the guts. Woohoo! Alright. Alrighty guys, this is going to be the first fire. We've filled it up with coolant. We do have a leak. We've got a leak in our thermostat, and we've got, looks like a little pinhole in our manifold here. So, I don't know what we'll do there, whether we definitely got a bit of a leak here. Might just leave that rag in there, I think. Right, we've turned it on, we've primed it. Fingers crossed, eh? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah! Right, well, there we go. We have to stop there, it's getting too warm. Let's go wet that sniper out. It's idling a bit high, we've got to probably adjust our idle screw, I think. But we have to get rid of these water leaks. So we've got a Welsh plug under here. And we've got a pinhole in there. But we had it freaking running! See, I've never done this Welsh plug, so we're going to have to take the power steering pump off. It's going to have to come off, and I don't know what we do, somehow do that. And then we're still just burning oils and crap off. We're also going to have to, we're just going to get a new, one of these, stuff it. That one was leaking, we get a new one of them, and we've got to address this little tiny weeping hole here. Whether we buy a new manifold or whether we put a bit of Chemi Weld or a bit of block seal or something. So anyway, I'm going to call that a success. So I think I'm going to have to run off now. What we might do is I'm going to run off and try to get some of these bits, and so we might end this, and you'll have to come back next one and we will do these last few things. Start it, dial it in, take it for a drive. What do you reckon? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Reaper. Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba.